But we'll let you go, Jason.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So over the past few months, city staff and community stakeholders have been working on a design for the Veterans Park Inclusive Playground Project with Athco LLC. Earlier this month, members from our steering committee approved a final design for the project that we're excited to share with you tonight. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Matt Klein, who's our design consultant with Athco, to present the project to you, and then following public comment, if you guys have any questions that we'd be more than happy to answer. Matt?
Thank you. Thanks, Jason. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you. There you go. All right. Well, council, thanks for having me. Jason, thanks for inviting me. I won't take too much of your time, but I've been involved with Jason and the Playground Steering Committee for the last several weeks, and just wanted to kind of run through the final design. This view here, we're essentially looking south. So this walkway here, if you look to the left toward the east, we'll keep that area split with the Zip Cruise here. That's a double Zip Cruise, and then side by side it is a Zip Cruise assisted. So that has a seat with a lockable harness in it. So children that need back support, have weak core strength, need that harness, they can also be included and feel safe and have fun in that. As far as swings, we've got a design for multiple users, different ability levels, starting with the friendship swing, and then we've got some classic belt seats, molded seats with harnesses for 5 to 12 and ages 2 to 5, and then some infant and toddler seats. And then moving over to the main playground area on the west side, we've got an entrance here with 16-inch ramp elevation, and then we can move a child in a wheelchair through that entire structure up to a 48-inch elevation, and then back down a ramp on the other side. So with that, we've got multiple points of entry and exit within that, which is feedback from the steering committee. And with on the back side here, I guess this would be kind of the southwest corner where we've got the shade and the seating. We've got access to that larger ramp structure back there. We've got lots of inclusive playground components like the We Go Round. That's a wheelchair inclusive. It's got bench seats for children and parents, caregivers, and then you can fit a user in a wheelchair onto that structure without having to transfer out. Another close-up view there. Lots of shade, lots of seating. Can never have too much of that. I've been doing this a little over 11 years, and that's one of the comments we always get when we're always done is I wish we had more shade and more seating. Right here, this fence opening, this will be a gate at this. The rendering just didn't have it. But as you enter here, you're met with the Cozy Dome, which is a nice little sensory piece. It's a climber. Kids can climb in it, kind of have a little time to themselves. This little orange structure here is Market Cafe, and it is for ages 2 to 5. It's got a lot of built-in kind of words, find fruit, find vegetables, lots of questions. So it's kind of sneaky educational for parents to chat with their kids while they're on the playground. A little higher angle here. Go back a little bit. So with the ramp structure, we didn't want to just stop at the ramp. We also wanted to provide some climbing for a wide variety of users and not have it be something where it had a design geared toward a certain user. But for instance, we did a recent playground that I went to, and there was a mother with a little girl that had special needs, and then she had a 5-year-old son who was fully able, and he was off playing, but there was plenty to do for this mother and her daughter, and that's what we wanted to achieve here, where we've got a little something for everybody and truly make it as inclusive as we can. And then the overhead 2D here just kind of shows a little footprint of how that impacts the existing site.
new business item number 1.
I'm on the steering committee. I have a comment. Do I need to come to the mic?
Please come forward.
Okay, sure. What is the age appropriateness for this sport?
Ages 2 to 5, 5 to 12.
Okay, and another question I have is, right now, a lot of children have what is called companion pets. Have you thought about that? Or are they going to be completely left out of this part? Have you thought about what if somebody was to bring a pet to this part? I see everything you have and it's fantastic, but people even drive with their dogs in their laps now. Have you thought about, I didn't see any place where you could take a dog that could, you know, I'm just asking. I just wanted to throw that out there.
No, it's a good question. So these are typically going to be made for kids and adults, parents, and caregivers. It would be up to the city if they determine if there's going to be a ordinance to allow pets.
But right now, we have no pets that are at this
As
site.
far as I'm aware, no, because essentially you'll have artificial grass, you have the potential of pet messes.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's going to be bad for public health.
And my grandson has a child that I would definitely love to take to this park. And my concern is the seating arrangements. How many, I didn't hear exactly how many seats we have, because older people like to sit down.
So we've got 2, 4, 6 6-foot benches with shade over each one.
6 feet, so 6 foot. Okay, and shade for each one, but no, like, individual seating, it will be all bench seating.
Right, they're permanently fixed. They'll be in concrete footers.
Okay.
There's also a shelter at this park as well, with picnic tables.
Yeah, which you can't, there's an existing shelter kind of right in this area that's large with picnic tables. So, you know, if this is full, this is be kind of meant for overflow.
Okay, did we see that part? 'Cause-
No, because that's an existing structure.
Okay.
I'm only rendering for the new thing.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Thank you very much for your time.
Any other public comment? Thank you for your help on this, Jennifer.
My pleasure.
Council, questions, comments?
So I like that last time I saw this, basically nothing changed other than minor tweak, and so that's good. It means the design was meeting criteria that people liked. Was there any feedback as to whether or not there was enough for a 2 to 5-year-old versus the 5 to 12? I know the 5 to 12 is more active, doing more, you know, getting away further from mom and dad. But was there any comments about that from the steering committee?
No, there wasn't.
Okay.
I had a question kind of in the same lines of that. Did we get any feedback from the committee? Is there enough resources that we're providing for special needs? Like, I mean, because it seemed like there were some options, but I don't know, I guess I thought maybe there'd be more. But I don't know if there was a discussion about that or not, if anybody else has a feeling on that.
Well, there's definitely more.
Right.
But for this one park and that footprint and our budget,
Limited
this
space.
is kind of what we have. Now, obviously, we have more parks coming, so, you know, we'll.
And there's so many levels of inclusivity. I thought for, you know, this project, being veterans, high visibility, high usage, I thought AFCO and their design team did a real good job at trying to put together several different inclusive components in this initial project.
And I know it's a balancing act, and I
Sure.
know that there's a lot of factors. I just wanted to make sure. I just was curious about that.
And we're replacing the mulch that's there now with the artificial turf.
Correct.
What is the maintenance on that turf? And I hate that I even have to say it, but I see it every summer on CFG, vandalism, spray paint, you know, things like that, cleaning it up.
Do you want to touch on the turf maintenance?
Yeah, so turf maintenance is essentially very little to no maintenance. I mean, it's kind of a different animal than like football field turf, but over time, you'll see high wear areas wear down. What we're doing on the front end is going in with what we call trample zones, like at the end of slide exits, that's like a putting green
Yeah.
material. So it's really high essentially it's very low. With the playground equipment, if you do have tagging or anything like that, we provide like a maintenance kit that has graffiti remover and like instructions on what to do if this happens on this material. It doesn't really happen often, but
And we are in the process, I mean, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, we do have vandalism in our parks. This one, I will say, is one of our least vandalized ones, just cause it's in such a high visibility area. But we are actually, working with IT and kind of redoing our camera system, trying to make it uniform. And not to give away our secrets, but I mean, if we're investing this kind of money, then we need to be able to kind of watch over these kinds of things, so.
Well, and that was my question, you know, if we're gonna spend this much money on a park, I want it to stay
Absolutely.
nice for a long
Mhm.
time, and unfortunately, things don't always work out that way, but,
Right.
anything we can do to prevent that would be fantastic.
I was gonna ask about the gating and whether those gates will be locked after hours, or are they, you know, is that going to be a possibility?
They will not. We have several gates in a lot of our parks. Curfew's at 11. We just don't have the manpower to
Sure.
monitor that.
Okay.
So, but again, you know, with this being in a high visibility area, you know, hopefully that will help.
Mhm.
So,
Okay,
Well, that main entry gate will probably be default closed anyway, right? And the parents have to open to let somebody in, yeah. So, with like a spring assembly, auto closes?
yes.
Yeah.
the only other thing I had that I wanted to make a comment about is I'm glad to see that a lot of sensory components are involved in this. This reminds me a lot of the park over by Olathe Lake, which has the same kind of zip line deal. I'm talking about I think it's called the Beaver Shelter, Beaver, I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's on the northeast side of Olathe Lake. They've got these same kind of inclusivity components. And then also, obviously, the sensory items that are over by that, by the area where all the, by the beach, basically, of Olathe Lake. They've got a big old sensory area. It looks like we've included a lot of that kind of functionality in a and this is a relatively small footprint. We all understand that. But this is a good start, and it's a good model by which we can use to perhaps duplicate in other larger areas like Celebration. I think that would be, obviously that's a very expensive get right there. But I like the fact you're using the artificial turf. I'm assuming there's sponging or some sort of absorbent material on the bottom. So it'll basically be very giving. I'm very happy with this. Very happy with this this concept, and obviously the steering committee had some very good feedback. And thank you for all this work.
yeah.
Jason, what's the timeline then, after approval?
That's the crystal ball.
Yeah.
So lead time right now, we're out about 20, 22 weeks just on the equipment. Everything's made in the U.S., so it's coming out of Delano, Minnesota, but they are at capacity. So we're kind of shooting for the early to mid-August completion as of today.
Completion, like, cause this thing says that the construction would start in the spring of 2023, so it'll take pretty much all summer to get everything installed, and that's if everything comes in on time.
Yeah, it will. So once we place an order, the nice thing is we know how far we are, and it's reliable. So once we place an order, we get an order confirmation, we get a ship date. That date doesn't change.
Okay.
So, but we've got a pretty stacked summer too. So like I told Jason, I don't want to promise you a date because I've been doing this long enough that I don't want to have egg on his face and have a disappointed community. So I would rather err a little bit on the long side. Because we do have a lot of school playgrounds we're trying to get done. We have a 2.5 month window to get those done. So.
And we plan on, you know, while these supplies are coming in, you know, there may be a possibility of cost savings as well with demo, some grade work, things like that. So that way the site is prepped and ready to go when these supplies are in and we can start going with construction.
I think there's a lot of people who wouldn't necessarily mind waiting a few months if they know what's going to be coming in. So a nice communications campaign around the inclusive playground would be probably really good.
And so once we have a better idea on the equipment, we plan to put a page together to kind of follow the project and look for updates and things like that. So to keep everybody, you know, informed on where we're at in the process.
Super. All right.
Any other questions or comments?
Sir, I have one more question, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Come forward, please.
Jason, my question is for you. I'm sure I must have missed it. How many laboratory facilities do we have at this point? You know, special needs kids have special need problems. And I'm just wondering, are the laboratories big, you know what I'm saying,
Absolutely.
please.
So that's a great question. It's something that we actually, we saw on our bus tour. Was it Meadowbrook is the new one?
Yeah.
They have the oversized restroom facilities for adults, the adult changing tables, things like that. What we have here at this park, it's not fitted for that. It's an older model. This park was constructed in 2003. And so I actually had a meeting with our grant writer last week, and there's actually a grant that we're going to go out for in the spring to try to look for some funding for something like that, because those facilities they're not cheap. So, the focus with this, primarily was to get going with the playground, the inclusive part of that, and then kind of work around that to see how we can facilitate, other areas of that park.
Okay. Do we have a motion for new business item number 1?
So moved. Second.
Motion Baldwin, second Shoot. We authorize early approval for the city administrator to execute a 2023 agreement with Athco LLC for the design and installation of a new playground for Veterans Park in the amount of $597,609, plus a 10% contingency. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? New business item number 1 passes.